If you run any kind of business that deals with physical products, you know the feeling, right? That pit in your stomach during the annual inventory count. The numbers are always off, and you start pointing fingers. Maybe it's your team, maybe it's theft, maybe it's just bad data entry. But what if I told you the real problem isn't how you count, but when? Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. This single idea, right here, is the key to unlocking your inventory problems for good. I'm serious. Once you really get this, you'll never look at your warehouse or a barcode scanner the same way again. So let's dive into this uncomfortable truth.
For most businesses, that annual count is this awful ritual. You shut down the whole operation for a weekend, everyone's stressed out, and by Monday morning, what do you have? A big old list of discrepancies that you just can't explain. Sound familiar? Of course it does. That's because the system itself is fundamentally broken.
Okay, so let's make sure we're all on the same page. A physical inventory count, it's super simple, right? It's just you counting what you actually have on the shelves and comparing it to what your computer system thinks you have. And that gap between those two numbers, well, that's your inventory discrepancy, and man, that's where all the headaches begin.
Look, the reasons we all do this are totally valid. Of course, we need financial accuracy. We have to spot theft, and we absolutely need to know when to reorder stuff. The problem has never been why we count. It's that the traditional way we've been taught to count is flawed right from the very beginning.
So, if it's not your team's fault, then who's the bad guy here? Well, the villain isn't a person. It's a process. And it's the one thing that most inventory management guides just completely gloss over.
And here it is. The real enemy is what we call the timing gap. This is the absolute core of the problem, folks. It's that delay, that gap in time between when a product physically moves and when that movement actually gets recorded in your system. This isn't a people problem, not at all. It's a problem with the architecture of your entire process.
This timeline just lays it out perfectly. A delivery shows up at 4 p.m. A customer brings something back at 6, but nobody actually gets around to logging either of those things until 7. So by the time your team grabs their clipboards and starts counting at 8, the system is already wrong. The errors are baked into the cake before you've even started.
And that timing gap, it's the root of this vicious cycle. You get to late updates, which leads to data you can't trust, which leads to these super stressful high-pressure counts, which, guess what, leads to even more human errors. It's a system that's basically designed to fail.
So how do we fix this whole mess? We have to throw out the old playbook. It's time to look at a new approach. Let's compare the old, broken method with a much smarter, more modern way of doing things.
Okay, on one side, you've got the beast, the full physical count. It's a huge disruption, it's expensive, and the accuracy you get from it, it lasts for about a day, if you're lucky. But on the other side, you have cycle counting. Instead of trying to do everything at once, you count small, manageable chunks continuously. There's no big disruption, and accuracy becomes a constant state, not just a temporary snapshot.
And this is where it gets really practical, and frankly pretty smart. The ABC framework helps you focus your efforts where they matter most. You count your A items, the high-value, fast-moving stuff, every single week. Your B items, the mid-range stuff, get counted monthly. And your C items, the slow movers, you just check on them quarterly. You're putting your energy where it has the biggest impact.
This new approach is all about continuous auditing, not a once-a-year panic attack. So, as you make this shift, let's talk about the common mistakes you absolutely have to avoid.
First up, and this is a big one, you can't count while inventory is still moving in and out. That's like trying to measure a flowing river with a ruler. It's impossible. Even a 30-minute window of sales or receiving activity can completely corrupt your entire count. You have to pause transactions in the specific area you're counting.
Next, never, ever treat the first count as the final number. Think of it more like a first draft. If your count finds a difference, a variance, you must do a recount to verify it. Just going into the system and overriding the number without double-checking, well, that's how you manually bake errors right back into your record.
Oh man, this one is huge. Counting by SKU, it's a recipe for absolute disaster. It literally sends your team on a wild goose chase, zigzagging all over the warehouse looking for one specific item. It's inefficient, and it's a guaranteed way to miss entire shelves or even sections.
And this just shows you the difference perfectly, doesn't it? That chaotic path on the left, that's your team chasing SKUs. It's a nightmare. The structured path on the right, counting zone by zone, shelf by shelf, it's methodical, it's efficient, and it is dramatically more accurate.
It's night and day.
You know, a successful count actually starts long before anyone picks up a scanner. Good prep is everything. Freeze those transactions for the area you're counting, make sure your space is organized, get your tools ready, and brief your team so everyone knows the game plan.
Then, during the count itself, you have to stick to the process. Count by location, not by SKU. Use two-person teams, especially for your most valuable stuff. It's just smart. And for goodness sake, mark off locations as you finish them, so you don't accidentally double count anything.
And listen, what you do after the count is just as crucial as the count itself. Compare your numbers to the system right away. Investigate any differences. And here's the most important part. Find the root cause. Was it a receiving error last Tuesday? A mislabeled bin? The goal isn't just to fix the number, it's to fix the process so it doesn't happen again.
And that right there is the ultimate goal. You're shifting your entire mindset. Inventory accuracy stops being this big, painful event you suffer through once a year. Instead, it just becomes a permanent, continuous, normal state of your day-to-day operations.
See, this isn't just about tweaking your process. It's about fundamentally changing your mindset. It's about moving from constantly reacting to problems to proactively preventing them from ever happening in the first place.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? The old way, the big annual count, it's designed to show you how big of a mess has piled up over the last 12 months. The new way, continuous cycle counting, is designed to prevent that mess from ever accumulating at all.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Is your next inventory count going to be another stressful weekend of uncovering chaos, or is it going to be a simple, calm confirmation of the accuracy you've been maintaining all year long? The choice and the process is entirely up to you.